But let's bring in Sean Sublette. He's a meteorologist at Climate Central. Sean, talk to us about this ominous, terrifying term, bomb cyclone. What does that mean exactly? Sean, to some extent, explained it to us in his live shot, in his live report from Boston. And is this a relatively new term?
The term first came into the meteorological lexicon back in 1980 when we defined a cyclone or a storm that underwent rapid development. In other words, the pressure, a low pressure system, which is what a storm is, dropped 24 hectopascals in 24 hours. So that is the objective criteria for meeting the definition of a bomb cyclone. So basically, it is something that is intensifying very, very quickly, and that's the rate of speed that we've defined it as, 24 hectopascals in 24 hours. And we do have a few of these across the Earth over the course of a year, but they are fairly unusual, especially this close to the east coast of the United States.
How bad are things going to get, especially in New England, and what will you specifically be looking for?
I think just the very heavy snow and the whiteout conditions that go along with the snow, and as Sean alluded to, the wind. It's not simply the fact that it is snowing heavily, but with that very strong drop in the pressure also comes very gusty winds, even though the center of the storm is offshore. Remember, you don't want to be underneath the middle of the storm to get the worst of the winds. You want to be slightly off center from the storm to get to the worst of the winds. And that's what's really going to be the problem. That's why travel is going to be so difficult. Not just so much the snow, but the very high winds, making for the blowing, drifting of snow, and cutting down on the visibility.
You know, snow in places like Boston, snow, wind, and ice, certainly nothing new. But what is unusual is this storm really started in the south, places that are normally very warm, like South Carolina, like Florida, even they got snow.
Yeah, snow in the western panhandle, the northern panhandle of Florida through southeastern Georgia and coastal South Carolina. Very unusual. It's happened before. If we think back to 1993, a very similar storm tracked up the east coast of the United States. That one was a little bit farther to the west by a few hundred miles and actually produced more snow than what we're seeing out there yesterday and today. But a very similar feel in that it started so far south in the United States and then moved up the east coast to bring some devastating snowfall amounts.
The fact that this storm is so powerful, how does climate change factor into all this?
One of the things we did notice, even though it's very cold, the ocean temperatures are still running about 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal. And because the storm did have its genesis or its organization over top of the ocean, not necessarily on the land, that does provide energy for the storm. Even though it's not a hurricane, it still does provide energy for the storm, and that may or may not have played some type of role. It's going to take a little time to go back through all the observations and the analyses to make that determination distinctly, but it is something that may have played a role.
All right, we'll leave it there. Sean Sublette, thank you so much.
Thank you.